Welcome, everyone, to the 1% Better podcast. This is where everyday Joes, investors, and business people try to get 1% better. Today, I have Seth Evans, our guest. Thanks for coming here, Seth.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
I'm super excited to have you. Just walk us through kind of your story, wherever you want to start. Tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you're doing now.
Sure thing. Well, I'm not from here. I grew up in Mississippi, and I came here because of a girl.
Yep.
So, my wife is from here. She grew up in Madrid. I got into real estate in 2020, I think. Had some experience before that. Whenever I was a kid, my dad had some really terrible properties in Jackson, Mississippi. And I remember as a kid, like going out there to these properties and playing around. So like didn't know what was going on, but that was my experience. But lived in Memphis, Tennessee for a while. That's kind of where I grew up, went to college there. And at one point I was doing video production after college, which I have a degree in music. So not doing any of that anymore. But what I was doing video production in Memphis. There's a handful of like turnkey real estate companies there, and I used to do like projects for them. And so I'd be like shooting interviews and stuff and just hearing them talk about real estate. And I was like, man, that sounds pretty good. Maybe I could do that one day.
Yeah.
And then, my father-in-law actually has a brokerage in the area. So in 2020, he said, hey, come up here, and if you want to get involved, you can come do some real estate in one of the businesses. So got into that, and, I'm doing it full time now. Doing a lot of fun flips and things. So
yeah, all creative stuff. Like You're the creative guy. I always call Seth when I have a problem if we're doing something a little off the beaten path of the traditional route, which is what you kind of have to do in this market anymore to make money. You're not just gonna go out on the MLS and buy a house and expect to make money right away anymore. Every once in a while you can, but I think it's really cool and creative because there's probably a couple other people here do it locally, but not at the scale I think you are. So I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Walk me through. So you moved back here, probably closer to be family then. And anything you learned out of the property management space that you took on to what you're doing now, or how was that experience for you?
Well,
because that's how we initially met, I think.
Yeah, I was working at a property management company. I was working as an investment advisor. So I got licensed, and you were, I think you reached out to me at one point, and I was like, who is this guy? But finally met, and I'm not doing that job anymore. But I think the property management space, what I really enjoyed about what I was doing was I got to do a ton of deals. Yeah. And it was a great time in the market because interest rates were low. You could buy deals right off the MLS. We were doing, a lot of new construction too, with the property management company. So I was helping established buyers buy stuff, and I got a lot of experience. I think in the first 2 years, the 2 years that I worked there, I did like 80 transactions.
Wow.
And I did a lot of like dual agency. So like just a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
So, in that, it was great because like I was working real estate full time, and I could literally show up every single day and just learn, which is what I love, just being able to put my head down and learn about real estate. So, you learn about wholesaling, you learn about flipping, how to understand what a deal is, cash flow, the commercial space, not even in all that order, but it's just, you learn all that stuff. And I just wanted to figure it all out. To me, it was just, more tools in my tool belt that I could go and like learn and then be able to put deals together.
Yep.
So I guess a passion was awakened maybe in me for real estate and what I could do with it, and the puzzle, solving ability of it. And then, I definitely learned that I didn't want to like manage properties. Like I wasn't interested in any of that stuff. I definitely wanted to have a management company do it. But then I think also one of the reasons why I sort of left and started flipping and buying on my own was, I would see deals that I was having a hard time convincing other people to buy. Yeah. I'm like, well, why don't I just buy these? Why do I need you to buy these deals? Like, I'll just go do it. And that was pretty hard. So maybe I realized I didn't really like representing buyers. I just wanted to go do deals. And so at the time, I built up enough confidence that I was willing to just go out and jump out and do that.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, when they get into the real estate business, they think they have to go out and get their license. If they want to buy real estate, besides just one or two here or there, they think they should go out and get their real estate license. What are your thoughts on having your license compared to, I assume you don't have yours anymore, that thought process, and if it's actually necessary for people?
Well, you and I both have licenses that we're not using right now. I guess I technically still have it.
Yeah.
It's in remission or whatever.
Inactive, yeah.
Yeah, inactive status. I absolutely don't need that license.
Yeah.
I don't ever need that license ever again. In fact, the stuff that I'm selling, sorry for all you real estate agents that may be listening to this, but real estate agents have a place for sure, and I still hire real estate agents. But in some instances, I'll just use a flat fee service. Mm-hmm. Just access the MLS, and then I'll represent myself. So everyone gets, where they're going in different ways. So I think I'm very glad of what my path to get here and the experience that I had. If I had a mentor that maybe that wasn't a real estate agent or whatnot, maybe it wouldn't matter. But I think that I think having the license is not necessary to answer your question.
Yeah,
you can do the deals without it. In fact, I hear a lot of guys and gals try to get their license because they think it's like the step to be able to do deals. Almost like, going to college is how I earn money in life.
Yep.
And getting a license doesn't get you anything as far as deals go. So, I don't think it's necessary at all. I think finding a good mentor and being willing to, work with someone else and just like absorb as much as you can is the way to get to a place to get deals. Or invest in some kind of coaching, which can be expensive, but you can learn actually how to go put deals together that way. Not the license doesn't do it.
Yeah, you at least saw a lot of volume, which you probably saw all different sorts of pieces, and I think you're a lot different than the average Joe that might use the flat fee service. You've transacted probably over 100 pieces of real estate or more in your lifetime, whereas the average Joe, they do it 3 times in their life. So them using a flat fee service compared to you is completely different.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and again, real estate agents fill a role and have a need in the marketplace, and I still use them. But yeah, as far as putting deals together and like being an investor, not necessary.
Yeah, I'd love to pay them more because the more money I'm paying them, the more deals we can do.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I can pay them more, and that's one of the things that probably you've taken advantage of is, Iowa is one of those states where you can have dual agency. And so being able to get that agent paid twice, is a benefit to them.
Yeah.
It's their livelihood. So
yeah. Well, I do a lot of work outside the state of Iowa. I don't really buy stuff anymore in Iowa.
Okay.
And so like Missouri is one of those places, which is right down the road, but I'm not leaving my office to go look at houses.
Yeah.
And so I need somebody there that I can trust to be able to list stuff for me or go walk stuff or, so I have a real estate agent there. His name is Nate and he's excellent, and so like I don't do any more flat fee stuff in St. Louis because I want to fill his plate. So there's a partnership that is really important for me with him and what we're doing that I really value.
Yeah.
So.
They can give a lot of good insight, especially right there, neighborhoods or things that you might not be familiar with living all the way up here. How did that conversation go with the agent? Because we wanted to we were exploring an Alabama market at one time. We've kind of cut the cord on that a little bit. But we went out and just hired a home inspector to take pictures for us, $100 or whatever. What's that structure? I'm just curious for myself with you and Nate.
Well, there's actually a different resource that I use for stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
It's called Investor Boots.
Okay.
Spelled with a Z, BOOTZ.
Okay.
I use it every day. It's basically a company that has notaries all over the country, and you just basically fill out a form.
Yeah.
And log. Are you gonna write it down?
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down.
I highly recommend it. Someone else recommended it here in Des Moines market, and it's excellent. So if you need, photos of the property taken, you need letters posted, you need someone to literally show up and do a signing or whatnot. In my business, we do that outside of closing. It can be done within a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
And it's like so easy. It takes me all of like 1 minute to like fill out the thing and it goes. So that's been a huge resource, just having that available. So like Nate he doesn't go and do a lot of that stuff.
Well, that's nice because he wouldn't probably want to do it anyways.
No. I bring him in on once we've already like closed on some heirs. So I mean, we haven't gotten to that too, but I the way that I'm buying properties right now is unique.
Yeah.
So
what's the pay structure with Investor Boots? Like, is it just per time you pay them X amount or?
So if you're gonna go get some photos, it's like $80.
Oh, okay.
And literally they'll do it within a couple of hours. I've had photos back in 2 hours.
Wow.
They're just like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they'll do signs, lock boxes, all that fun stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, we can.
Not affiliated.
Not affiliated. We'll put your link down below, and then if they use it, we'll send you the affiliate fee. Link, yeah. That's your site. That's one of those tools on the tool belt.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're just kidding. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing now. I know you were very creative on doing contracts, sub 2. Maybe let's just start there.
Sure.
Because that was like the entryway to kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So let's maybe just start there on your kind of experience with sub 2 and contracts and some deals maybe you've taken down that route.
Let me preface this by saying I'm a pretty curious individual.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. So like, when I learn about something new, I just want to learn everything about it. So I've kind of jumped around a little bit in some of this stuff, but creative finance was one of the things I was learning when I was still at the property management company, and the market was sort of shifting too, so like interest rates were rising, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of, opportunities to try to start putting deals together that, don't work any other way.
Yep.
So, creative finance includes subject to just buying properties subject to the loans on them just staying in place, especially all these loans that have 3% interest on them. And so I started learning that and partnered up with someone here locally that was in a coaching program with Pace Morby on all that stuff. And we started doing deals together, which was awesome. And, even seller finance, which is, there's no mortgage in place. It's just an owner is financing the property, or seller carry, they call it. So just trying all that kind of stuff out, and had some success, had some failures in that, like even doing notes. I would buy subject to, fix it up a little bit, and then sell it on a lease option or a seller finance to a tenant. And that's worked. And then one of the deals did not work at all, and I ended up losing quite a bit of money on that. It was just such a nightmare.
In what regard? Like they called the note due, or there was other liens a part of the property, or
a lot of it was my mistake. Just trying stuff, but it was a lease option, and it was on a property that we just wanted to sell, but it was in Panora.
Okay.
Iowa.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was getting late in the season, and the market they weren't buying. So we just kind of had to pivot and just sell it on a lease option. And they didn't put a lot of money down, didn't have a lot of options, and so we just kind of took it. And then the couple that were in there just like split halfway through. I think he was pretty with some domestic stuff going on. And when I got the property back, it was destroyed.
Oh shit!
And I didn't put hardly anything down. And so it was costly. But we got out of it. Lost quite a bit of money on it. I think I lost like 20 grand on this deal. And I was also doing some flips at the same time, just trying all these different things. And some of the flips worked, and some of them I was just like, to break even was going to be a win.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I felt like flipping was just what I had to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in that. I didn't like managing contractors and, doing all that. I really didn't. So I in the back of my mind, I was just looking for this opportunity to build some kind of model where I can go do real estate and like go build out deals, but I wanted margin. I didn't want to do a volume thing. Because I got a family, and I just didn't want to go just head first into just building out this big, massive machine. I wanted it to be a little bit more manageable. Anyways, in that process, I was starting to have some concerns around even the creative finance sub-2 side of things, because I was getting burnt a little bit.
And it takes a lot of volume to do that too.
Yeah,
it's
a lot of work.
If you want to build up like Chris Crone, that's his thing.
Yes.
Is like seller he buys them, resells them to someone else, inflates the interest rate, or maybe just gives them a good interest rate because he bought it with equity, and then he's making $500 a month. But then you have to have 20 doors before you even make any type of substantial money.
Yeah.
So
obviously you can do it, but it just wasn't right fit for me, and I wasn't feeling like it was.
Mm-hmm.
We also started doing, we were wholesaling, but that thing also was difficult because you're getting squeezed as the wholesaler. And then all of this regulation is being changed all across the country, and even in Iowa. I got out of wholesaling before the regulation changed, just because.
I honestly think if you're going to try to wholesale a lot, you should just be an agent.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's a lot easier. It's way easier.
Well, we transitioned. Instead of doing wholesaling, we started doing double closes, right? Because I wanted the control of, I'm going to close on this thing, right? And I didn't want my end buyer to see the difference of what I was making. Then I went away from that, and I started doing the whole tails.
Yep.
So we just line up financing, and we close on it. We clean it up and try and sell it, right? And again, I've just been trying all these different things, but that seemed to work. I started getting funding lined up for that, and that seemed manageable, sustainable. And then we started doing it outside of Des Moines. So we started doing it in all these smaller areas, because we started, turning up our marketing.
Yeah.
With doing the direct mail at one point, and then we started doing PPC leads and then SEO. I think just, I don't have the data for it, but from what I've heard from other people in that space at that time doing all those things, like the whole industry just kind of like slowed down. If you're, paying that kind of money, you just weren't getting the same kind of results.
For SEO or
SEO, direct mail, all of it. Like, you really have to dial it up. And so, we were making money, but it wasn't what we really wanted. And, doing these wholesales in these other cities, other states, brought its own set of challenges, because everything was remote at this point.
And all the titles different, and all the little nuances are different.
I had one house in Cleveland, Ohio that we bought, and we thought it was going to be just a home run deal. And 2 days after I closed on it, somebody broke into it and stole all the copper out of it. The water was still on. The thing started flooding for 3 days before somebody found it. My junk out crew the next week showed up. They opened the door and water's just pouring out of it.
Oh.
This is all remote.
In winter, or was it in the summer?
It was in late summer. I mean, nothing froze. People literally stole the copper. They cut, and the water started pouring, and
they just kept. They were getting a shower too.
Yeah, just like drug addicts that were. So that we ended up making $4,000 on the deal. So we didn't lose money, but oh my gosh,
it was a nightmare from hell.
It doesn't take many of those for me to go, wait a second, either I gotta really figure out this solution, or I need to do a different thing. So anyways, I say all that to say, as we're messing around with all of this stuff, my partner at the time had heard about this guy named Logan Fulmer down in Texas who does curative title, which I didn't know anything about this guy, but Derek, my partner, basically said, look, we got to go check this guy out. He's giving me the whole rundown of how he finds, properties with super difficult, title issues where the owner is deceased and the property's vacant and the owners are these heirs and whatnot. And so Logan goes and tracks them down, and he makes, massive profit or whatever. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do any of that. Yeah. But that sounds cool. Let's go check it out. And so we went down and did one of his, one-day seminars or whatever. And I was sold. It's like, this is fantastic. Logan's the real deal. Yeah. And so I went into a coaching program with him and started learning how to do that model. And, I call myself a recovering flipper now, because I don't do any of that other stuff anymore. Yeah. I've done a few sub-2 deals that I've just bought to keep as rentals, but those are mostly depreciation plays. But all the stuff that I buy now is all curative title, undivided interest, and we still do it outside of the state of Iowa. but completely moved into that. I've been doing that full time for the last year or so at this point.
Nice. What's your wife think about you buying all these houses all over the place?
She doesn't even know where they all are. Yeah, she's like, yeah, you kind of do that, Seth, and I think she gets a little bit concerned because this space is more risky. So she doesn't quite understand it, so she gets a little bit more concerned on it. But we've been working on that. I've been working on trying to give her some more information on what's going on in the business. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. The same way. More knowledge is power. Fear is only if you don't understand something. So bringing them in and getting a little more input, I think, is always good, because it's good seeing the other side too. On like, okay, why are you nervous about this? Especially because Abigail has a lot of real estate background. This year she did quite a few real estate sales. Had a really good year, thankfully. But it's like that. I think it's always good to have that yin and the yang back and forth too. So
yeah, I think historically, like, I just find that like threatening probably. And so I'm learning, and I do a lot of like personal recovery work as well too. So like I'm learning that needs to be a threatening thing. Like that could be a really beneficial thing. Having a partner like that, it keeps me grounded, because like
imagine if you're both like that.
Exactly.
Like I could only imagine like two, like that'd be crazy. Leverage to the moon.
And I could just go, like, I mean, it's almost like an addict. Like I can just like dive into something and just go for it, and just not even consider the risk. That's in me. But at the same time, like, I have a wife that, can also be a very, very grounding voice if I'm just willing to like be vulnerable and like listen to that. Yeah. And I got 2 kids now too. So like this whole moving around and stuff is not really, I need consistency, stability. Like those are important things now. For sure. And I see it that way too. Sweet.
I want to jump into the deal just to get your thoughts on it, because something I have going on, and then we go back to the curative title if that's cool.
Sure thing.
So I have this house I sold on contract in the little town of Burnside. They put 10 grand down. It was interest only payments from April of this year to January. So 12% interest only payments on the remaining balance, which is like 50 some grand. She's paid everything to this point. And I followed up multiple times and like, hey, this is coming due. Because the plan was she was going to fix up the house herself and then refinance it at the end. So me holding the money back was going to help her on the purchase. And now we're getting to closing. I called her earlier this week and she's like, oh yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to get it refinanced by that time. And I go, have you talked to a lender yet? And she goes, yeah. I go, so where are you at in the process? Like, is appraisal ordered? Because that takes a couple weeks. She's like, I don't know. I'm going to have to follow up on that. So either I have 2 options. I can just extend to February, because she said no matter what, she'll have it done in February. Or I could technically take the house back on January 1st if she doesn't get it off. So I kind of feel a little ruthless doing that. But then again, it's like what we agreed upon all the way back in April. She's had 8 months to get it done, and it's not done yet. And it's not a huge renovation. It's, flooring, cabinets, paint, something that could be done in a couple months. Or I extend and just take one more payment in February, and then maybe she does it then or not. But
what does your gut say?
I say maybe something in the middle ground, like ask for maybe a little more money down so that she is going to go through with it, and then maybe extend it one more time. I feel like it's fair.
Yeah.
Because like she definitely has known that this is coming up for a while.
Yeah.
Sure
she knows.
So, and I understand, like I kind of see it. I'm like, well, am I, it's the same thing I do with the banks too. Like, hey, let's extend this loan, yada, yada, yada. But it's kind of different with me personally financing it compared to a banking institution. But
what's the structure again?
So it's just interest only payments on the remaining balance. She put 10 grand down.
Lease option?
Contract.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. Like, just, say, hey, give me a couple grand and we can extend it. Yeah. So it hurts a little bit more for her. Yeah. And if she's not willing to do that, that may be your answer, that she's not going to actually refinance it out either. Yeah.
She's been good. She's been like calling me back. Like if someone picks up the phone or texts me back right away, like I just give them more faith, more justice. Yeah. Because having tenants and getting burned by tenants and people just telling the F you, go to hell and never pick up your phone call. Like now you have some good graces, at least on my side, that you're picking up and telling me what's going on.
communication's key. So she's at least not avoiding you.
Yeah.
So she's wanting to try and figure out a solution. So yeah, I think that would be fair.
Okay. That's what we're going to do.
If that's what you want to do.
I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
We got that figured out live here on the 1% Better podcast. There you go. We can do deal deep dives too.
You can figure out your problems right here, guys.
Don't worry, I'm not paying him either on the side.
I have an affiliate link.
Yeah. After this, your real estate therapy courses you got us tied into.
So let me tell a quick story. That what you're talking about reminds me. So I bought a house in Erie, Illinois.
Okay.
Whenever I was doing the PPC stuff.
Where's that at?
It's just to the east of the Quad Cities.
Okay.
On your way to Chicago, you kind of see Erie, Illinois there. And I was marketing in the Quad Cities, just happened to hit that one or whatever. So it was cheap. I think I paid like 10 grand for this house, and I thought it'd probably be worth like 60, 70 grand or whatever. And it was technically, as I'm thinking about this was technically my first curative title deal, because the owner of the house had just recently passed away.
Okay.
And it was the son who we had made contact with, or had seen our ad and called us. And so in the conversation, we were already in curative title coaching, but found out the title was not in his name, and he had a sister, and it was still in his mom's name. And so, we just thought it'd be a great opportunity to just like learn the curative title, because that's what you do. It's a property that is, the person is deceased, and you got to find the heirs. We have the two heirs. They both want to sell. We'll pay them 10 grand, five a piece, and then we'll figure out, the title stuff on the backside. So it all worked. I learned the process. Title company helped us with it. We use what's called an affidavit of heirship, so you don't have to do probate. You can avoid probate and do an affidavit of heirship instead. That just basically is an affidavit that states who the owner was, when they were born, when they died, if they were married, when they were divorced, if the case, how many kids they had, and which kids are alive. And it just says that these are the owners now of this asset. And so we did all that. We got title. I'd never seen the house. I don't even think I had somebody go look at it. I'm just kind of a shooter at the hip sometimes.
That is wild.
It's 10 grand. Whatever.
There's a house there and there's a lot. It's probably worth more than that.
Yeah.
That's my intuition.
It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story house from like 1910 or something. Anyways, we found out. Well, in one of the walkthroughs, we had a guy take photos, and he just happened to notice that there was a couple of dead bats hanging around. I'm like, okay, fine. It's probably been vacant for a while, dead bat.
Yeah.
No big deal. Well, I had the inspection done after we closed. That's what it is. We closed so fast, I couldn't even get an inspector in there quick enough. So I had it scheduled for the week after we closed, because that was the soonest I could get him in there. So we've already closed. Inspector goes through and he calls me and he goes, dude, have you already closed on this thing? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, do you know about the bats? I'm like, yeah, there's like a couple of dead bats or whatever. And he goes, no. There's a colony of bats in this house. I'm like, where? He goes, in the attic. I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, no. He's like, I won't even go up there. He says, I took some pictures from the stairs or whatever. So like the second floor, there's a hallway ladder that goes up, and there's a bats up there. So I'm like, what do we do about bats? So I ended up finding this really great bat company that is in the Quad Cities, which was great. And dude was super helpful.
Talk about a niche.
I send him out there to the house, and I tell him, I showed him pictures. I'm like, there's a lot of bats. And he was like so excited to go. He's like, I've never seen this many bats before in my life.
Oh God.
So he goes out there with somebody else that's in a different area that also does the same thing, because they both want to see these bats. And he calls me back and he's like, yeah, you have a colony. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, it's 1,000 bats or more.
Holy.
In the house. We start talking about what that looks like and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm telling my wife this story. She doesn't know what to do with it. My partner at the time, like, this is just absolutely insane. There is piles of guano in the attic that are this tall. We're talking decades of this colony of bat living in this attic.
Oh my gosh.
And the lady died of respiratory issues.
Oh, I wouldn't, yeah.
So, I'm putting all this together now. I'm like, what are we gonna? I'm just thinking just money. And I paid 10 grand for it. It's a $60,000 house. Like we're in a bad spot is what I'm thinking. Luckily, we get it all taken care of. It was like maybe like 10 grand total to get everything cleaned out of this.
That's
thing,
gnarly. Right? That seems pretty reasonable kind
But
of.
we had to replace the roof too. So he was like, hey, you should definitely let me know when the roof gets replaced, because as soon as you pull that roof, like these bats are going to scatter, like, you know, from the Dark Knight, you know, the movie. And so he showed up, and sure enough, they just scattered like crazy, and it was just a big thing. And anyways,
Should have got a drone out there, like drone footage.
yeah. So that same deal. The roofer guy, I ended up having to hire a second roofer because the first guy stole all my materials.
Oh.
He was just a terrible roofer, stole all my stuff. So anyways, that house, we ended up not being able to sell it at a price point that we could just break even. So I decided just to do a lease option. So I've got someone in there now that's paying me $1,000 a month on that thing. That's working great. She put $8,000 down, so she's got some capital in it.
Yeah.
But I'm still stuck with that thing, you know, for another 5 years until she decides to pay for it. But that's where those tools in the tool belt came into play. It's like, I can't exit this thing, so I'll turn around and put a lease option tenant in this and get a down payment and just move on.
That's a gnarly story.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
A colony of bats, man.
That's wild. My best story, I had 3 squatters in one house. That was pretty good.
That's good.
And I had to do a basement and sewer line. So it was kind of like about everything as big as you could get, but nothing like that. It would take me a minute to be like, okay, who can I call for this?
If this guy wasn't in business, like there was no one else to call.
That is crazy.
So
what's like your sweet spot on the lease option stuff for a down payment?
I don't think I did it long enough to have a sweet spot, but I will say, as a principle, the more they are able to put down, the more committed they are.
Yeah.
And there's a couple guys in town that you could interview that would say that. Ryan Renz, I think, is one of those guys. Adam Romero also. They kind of specialize in some of this stuff. The more they'll put down, the better off it is. So I think at least $8,000. In my opinion, if you're going to do it, but depending on what the house is, they may be able to put down more.
Yeah.
If it's a $300,000 house, probably $8,000 is probably too little for something like that.
Yeah. I just had one they moved into, and they gave me $8,500 for the down payment, but they gave me it in cash before it even closed. And I was like, I personally would have never done that, but sure, if you guys want to, like, it's not like I'm going to leave them stranded,
right.
But like, just think of that principle anywhere else. Like your roofer guy, you paid for all the materials, you just left. Like I could just do the same thing for them. Like just take their $8,500 and leave.
Yeah.
Not saying that I would, but it's just like kind of crazy. They didn't even wait till closing.
Yeah. Well, they just think, once I pay you, it's mine, right?
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Wild West, buddy.
Yeah. It's going to work fine. I front loaded the amortization schedule, so that was kind of fun doing that.
That is fun.
Yeah.
I like doing that too.
And it's both parties agreed. It's not like I was being fraudulent about it. I put it out there, both people signed it. So but that's just a cool little trick, because like banks, they determine their own amortization schedules. And like I was just looking at one the other day. It was $1 million loan, and you look at it over 25 years, and the payoff the last 5 years is like $300,000 the last 5 years of actual principal. In the first 10 years, you're lucky to pay off that loan maybe 150, 200,000. And that's the same thing they're doing, because they're just going to wait 5 years and start a whole new one again.
Yeah. You could do the amortization route, and you still, front load it. You could make it a 40-year or 50-year, amortization if you want. You can make it interest only. I mean, in this world of seller finance and creative finance, like you can just do whatever you want to do. There's not really any rules to that. The lease option is great because they'll put an option price down, and then it's 100% interest, really, because it's a lease, and it's just a price at some point if they choose to execute their option. But then you maintain all of the ownership of the property, so you don't have to foreclose. It's just an eviction in worst case scenario. I won't dive into it, but I also seller financed a pool table one time, and I seller financed a car. So like I figured out how to seller finance other things too.
Yeah.
I sold a car that was worth about $3,500 for $8,000 on seller finance.
I see those TikToks sometimes. It's like a guy, he's like, I just bought a Hellcat. He's like, my payments are $820 for the next 1,000 months. Like that's probably what the payments are, $100 for the next 80 years for that guy.
Yeah, I think they gave me like $2,000 down, and it was like $200 a month.
For how long?
I think it was like 3 years. The math probably doesn't work out, but they ended up like getting in a fender bender, and I had to take it back. and then I resold it again, and I ended up making more money by reselling it. So, anyways,
that's cool.
You can do it. You can seller finance anything. You can buy anything on seller finance, and you can seller finance anything to anybody.
There you go. That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit about the curative title stuff. You kind of, when we finally kind of carved the path there, per se.
Yeah.
Explain to the listeners what that means.
Yeah.
Maybe in common terms without going too far into the weeds. And then I'd love to talk about some of the deals you're doing too.
Yeah, so curative title, it's just like the most messy possible real estate deals that you can find, in my opinion. It's a property that we normally find when they're delinquent on taxes. So they're, abandoned, so to speak. They're not being paid on taxes, going to a tax sale. The owner is deceased. It's possibly actually vacant and abandoned, dilapidated. And the owners of the property are all over the country, potentially. So that's not always the fact pattern, but that's kind of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And so the curative title is just basically putting all of those pieces together to clean up the what would be the gap in the title from a buyer, because you can't sell a property without somebody putting that through probate typically. We try not to use the probate process, but anyways, my job is to buy that asset and then resell it. But in the meantime, I've got to clean all this stuff up so that I can actually sell it to an end buyer and have marketable title.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell.
Because probate is essentially the court system cleaning it up for you in some way, right?
Yeah.
But you're doing the work for them, essentially.
Yeah. So, if I own a piece of property and I don't have, whether I have a will or not, when I die, the property that I own, if it is going to be passed to my wife or my kids, whatever that ends up looking like, or it has to go through the probate process. So even if I have a will that says, my son gets this and my daughter does not, or whatever, bypasses I don't know, that still has to go through the probate court for a judge to rule on it, for it to be true. So I can't just have a will or my kids can't have a will. So, and then if you don't have a will, it goes by the state's intestate succession. So intestate means without a will, die without a will. Testate is died with a will. So we get into some weeds here, but the intestate succession follows sort of a family tree based on that state. So I don't know Iowa's exactly, but in Missouri, if you, let's say you are not married, I'm not married, let's just say, and I have kids. When I die, my assets get split evenly amongst my kids, right? If, let's say, I don't have any kids and I die and I'm not married, but I had siblings, then it goes back up and around to my siblings if my parents are deceased. If my parents are alive and my siblings are alive, everybody gets it evenly, and then my parents get 2 shares for every 1 share. So it gets complicated, but that's all just in the revised statutes, of your state. So anyways, we'll look at a situation and then we can figure out who the actual heirs are going to be, and then we go contact them and we say, hey, here's the situation. Do you know about this property on 123 Main Street? It was owned by whoever it may be. And, do you know that it went to a tax sale? It looks like you're probably an heir to the property. What do you want to do with your interest? Yeah. And so we're doing a lot of education in the front end like that. But ultimately, we want to buy out their interest. And so we do that outside of title, because I can't get clear title. And so, this is all undivided interest, which just means in real estate, when something's an undivided interest, it means you can't cut a piece of real estate in half or into sections the way that you can with just cash, right? There's, 2 owners of the estate and it's cash. Well, you get 50, whatever. So you've got to all come together to sell the asset, right? For everybody to get paid. So we just buy it outside of title. So we don't get title insurance when we buy. We just close on the interest, which is why I use that investor boots. I have the whole packet that I'll put together for my attorney, and then we send it out and we close on it, and we just basically go around the horn and just collect the interest as we go, ideally getting all the way to 100. Okay. And it could be one person, like one kid. That would be really simple. Just close and we have 100%. It could be like that deal in Erie, Illinois, where there's brother and sister. There's 2. They get both their signatures. Or we've got deals where we've got 10 different owners all over the country that we're having to send closing packets to as we go, and we just collect all of that. And then anyways, I'm getting into the weeds, but once we get all that, then we take it to a title company and we can sell it to an end buyer.
Nice. So first, do you ever just use like online notaries for that, or are these people, that'd be too much of a pain to do that?
Most of the people we're working with are older.
Yeah.
So we have done it. We found a guy in the Philippines, and it was easier just to have him log into notarize.com and notarize it than to have a Philippine, notary show up and then ship all the paperwork.
Okay.
But that was because we could also record in the land records digital, we didn't have to send in the originals. But for the most part, we're actually having someone physically show up and bring in the closing pack for them to sign.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with the curative title stuff, you get, find someone that this might work for, their interest has been divided, and they probably don't even know that they have this interest, or they could care less, probably, are the two situations.
Yeah.
Are probably you come across the most. And then with that, like, maybe not how that conversation goes, but I guess what's my question with that?
I can tell you a story about one.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. So there's one that we recently purchased. His name is Ricky. He's in St. Louis, and he had a house there in St. Charles. And he was divorced, but he had 2 kids of his own. Robbie and John were his 2 sons. But his wife had a kid, so that was like his stepkid, and his name was Chad. Well, Robbie and John were estranged, and they were not living or in contact with their dad, Ricky. In fact, John, no one has seen in 20 years since Hurricane Katrina, because he's living down in Texas now, which was back in the early 2000s. So Ricky's dead, and Chad is the one that's living in the property, the stepson. And Chad, as a stepson, has no inheritance of his stepdad's estate. It goes to the 2 other sons. Sorry, it wasn't Robbie, it was Jason. So it's John and Jason. Okay. And Jason, the other son, is also deceased. And Jason had 2 kids, Robbie and Ricky Jr.
Okay.
So this is where it gets, this is it. So the owners of the property are John, the son living in Texas. He's a 50% owner. And then Jason's 50%. He wasn't married either. He just had 2 kids out of wedlock. Went down to his 2 kids, Robbie and Ricky Jr.
Okay.
So they both had 25%, and John had 50%. And none of these people are even in the same state. John's in Texas, and Robbie and Ricky Jr. are living in an RV in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Okay.
Okay. So, but Chad, the stepson's living in the property and has been living there since 1996.
Holy smokes.
Like this is his house.
Yeah, for 31 years, yeah.
And he, come to find out, is struggles with the finance side and is probably kind of on the spectrum as well, and just like has can't work.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
So he's not able to keep up with the taxes, which is how we found it. So the property was sold at a tax sale, a tax lien, and it was going to be completely lost. So anyways, we tracked down Robbie and Ricky Jr. and we purchased their interest. And these guys, they didn't drive, they didn't work, they lived with their mom. They were, I think, 19 and 20. They didn't have their own bank accounts. They didn't have their own cell phones. Like, we had to talk to them with their mom, through their mom, and their mom, like, her phone died, like lost service, didn't pay the bill, like, during the process. So, like, and living in an RV,
yeah.
You know? So, like, I think we offered them a couple grand for each of them for their share, and it was a huge deal, like, for them to do that. And they had no way to fix this either. Like,
yeah.
They had made no contact with Chad or their grandfather as well. They could not get that property redeemed and back out of the situation. So it was either they were going to do this or the property was gone. And they didn't know about any of this stuff either. They didn't even know that they were heirs.
Yeah.
So we purchased their
They
interest.
didn't have the money to pay the back taxes either.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. purchased their interest, and so now we became a 50% owner. And then we had to find John, and we weren't even sure if John was alive. Nobody could tell us he was alive. We knew there was a name John. We knew someone last seen him in Texas. There's a bunch of Johns in Texas.
Oh yeah.
And there was a bunch of John. His last name was Tyler. A bunch of John Tylers in Texas too. So we found old Facebook pages that hadn't been updated in like 5 years or more. He was really into fishing. So like we just went really hard in trying to find this guy.
How do you find a guy like this?
You Google Ancestry.com, Facebook. If you're dead, there's other ways like findagrave.com, calling neighbors, like skip tracing him, trying to find phone numbers, looking at old addresses, and then seeing who would have lived at that address during the same time as him, maybe old roommates or something.
Yeah.
Worst case, you got to hire a private investigator to go find somebody. Luckily, we determined that he was
Have
alive.
you ever had to do that? Hire a private investigator?
Not yet.
Probably will though.
I probably will, yeah. Like I said before, like I like to just dive into stuff too. So, but we ended up finding him, long story short, and he didn't want anything to do with this property. He didn't want anything to do with his dad. Like they had all disowned him, kind of thing, 20 years ago. So we finally convinced him. We think we paid him $4,000 for his interest, and he jumped right on it. Like just as soon as we got him on the phone, he was like, "Yes, just send me the paperwork." Within a day, I think we had the paperwork to him, and now we were 100% owner in the property. So record everything. But I got this other problem with Chad now in the property, so I got to get Chad out of the property somehow. So now we're contacting Chad. We have the whole picture together, right? And now it's just about getting Chad out. He won't answer the phone, because he's getting all kinds of calls too from people.
Oh, I bet.
Of the tax sale. We sent someone over to his house, and he's like saying he's going to call the police on us. And then I was finally able to get a packet together, a full letter, and like all of the instruments that we use showing that we bought the interest to him. And then we also filed an eviction as well. So our attorney got involved and like posted a letter and stuff. So now he's calling, like, and he's freaking out because like, what am I going to do? So we finally got him on the phone, and we were able to sort of negotiate a cash for keys with him. And so, that's kind of how we clean that up. But he's still in the property right now. We have it under contract. We're going to close with an end buyer. So my real estate agent, Nate, he was able to get in there, take photos. That was part of our cash for keys with Chad. Chad's got to get out by the 31st of January. So we gave him through the holidays to find his next place. And we're going to give him $3,000 as well to get out of the property. And so that one, I think we're going to sell it for, we're under contract for like $115,000. And I think the taxes on it, were about $10,000, maybe $13,000.
So you won't pay the taxes until you have all these interests put together.
So we could pay the taxes, but because it's a tax lien, and in Missouri you get 1 year of redemption, so it's in this 1 year redemption period. Yeah. So we don't actually lose the property until like August of 2026. Okay. So we're going to close with an end buyer this month in December, and then as part of the closing, it'll pay those taxes off and pay everything off. Okay. And so, and we're going to get paid and get out of it and move on to the next thing. So that's kind of an example of kind of how one comes together. That one was a little bit hairy, but, ideally no one's living in the property. So you get all the interest, and then you just go send the locksmith over there and get the locks changed, and then list it and get it sold. So, 2 questions, I guess. A, how long did that whole process take from start to finish? Because it doesn't sound like it, obviously something you don't do overnight. A lot of phone call, and then also how much time did you invest into that, you think? Yeah, you do invest quite a bit on the front end. I think once we actually get people on the phone, it typically goes pretty quick, especially if they're, willing to do a deal with us. But the trick with curative title is that you tend to spend quite a bit of time on the front end trying to figure out if it's a deal or not, and do research and kind of build the family tree. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but on a deal like this, like, we're making a really decent margin on it, and we didn't have to do any renovations whatsoever. Yeah. All my costs were just in paying them out, and then my attorney's fees, I think I paid like $700 because we stopped the eviction with the attorney, but once we got Chad's attention, so and then the taxes, so that's nice. But I think on that one, we're probably 2 months at this point right now. We're going to close on the 22nd. Okay. So maybe 3 months total, something like that. Cool.
What? Because you said you get all your interests and then you buy the property without like a deed process in place.
Yeah. So
what does that look like?
So technically, they don't have ownership. They have what's called either like an interest in the estate,
Yeah.
or what an attorney might call an expectancy. Okay. You can buy that, obviously.
Yeah.
But from a title company's perspective, they want to see something that says that Ricky was the owner, Ricky died, and he either deeded it before he died to someone else, right? That'd be ideal, but he didn't. So who is the owners of the property now? And the title company doesn't have access to Ancestry.com. They're not going to do any research whatsoever.
No, they don't have time. They have 80 more transactions they need to close that month.
They just need to see what's in the land records, or they need to see some kind of court order. That's it. If you don't have that, they can't do anything. They can't insure the property and give you title insurance. So that's where probate comes into play, because there'll be an letters issued in a probate is what the process is, and then whoever has the letters can sell the asset. Or what we'll do is an affidavit of heirship, which we record in the land records. Okay. So whenever I buy interest from someone, they'll sign over a deed, right? Because they do have ownership. But then we also have a third party execute the affidavit of heirship that sort of just builds out the gap between Ricky and who we need it to be.
Yep.
And then that gets recorded first in the land records.
Okay.
And then we record our deeds in the land records. And so when the title company comes back and does their research, they'll find the affidavit, they'll see all the names of Robbie and John and Ricky Jr., and then they'll see the deeds that Robbie, John, and Ricky Jr. executed from themselves to Clear Title USA.
Gotcha.
And then they go, great, makes sense to us, let's close it.
Yeah.
And that's when we get Clear Title with an end buyer.
Interesting.
I'm getting in the weeds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I like the weeds. That's where I live. I like the weeds.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how many of those have you done yet this year?
A few. It's interesting because we got to buy out interest, and so I do tons of closings because there's multiple owners per deal. As far as actual deals, there's probably 15 to 20 that we've done, and we haven't exited that many, but we're maybe a year or so into this. So we probably exited maybe 10 of those, or 10 deals this year. We've done all kinds of stuff. We've even done probates because we did deals in Colorado, and you can't do affidavit of heirship in Colorado, so we found that out. So we've done 2 probates in Colorado, doing some deals in Georgia. Just happened to pick up 2 deals in Georgia that we needed to probate them. We could do affidavit of heirship in Georgia.
Yeah.
One of those is pretty interesting, which I can definitely tell the story about that. It's not finished, but it involves a very large estate and an order of death. Like, they were found deceased at the same time, but they didn't die at the same time. It was a husband and wife with no kids. So there's kind of a fight that's happening in the probate court between us and the other heirs of the estate. They think that they have right to this estate, and we actually have the rights to it because of order of death. But anyways, those just happen to be 2 probates. But for the most part, we try to just do affidavit of heirship because it's easy.
Yeah.
You just literally execute the document, record it in the land records, and there it is.
Interesting. What's your team look like these days?
Small. I had a couple of VAs, and I ended up letting them go because we just didn't need to have the volume. I was keeping them busy. Didn't need to. So right now it's me and one other person who is part-time acquisitions. He's going to come on full-time in February, and then we're going to kind of slowly build that out. But this model, you don't do a lot of volume, you do margin.
Yeah.
So between me and him, his name's Anthony, we can do quite a bit between the 2 of us.
Nice.
So I think long term we'll probably have 5 people. I'll probably backfill some of the roles that I have, and then maybe another salesperson or something, who knows.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of VAs that will help with some administrative stuff, or just maybe even someone. I don't know. We got AI now, so I don't know where all that fits in, but maybe I don't need to have 5 people. Maybe 2 people is going to be AI bots.
Well, if you ever put your AI hat on, then you'll go down some big rabbit holes for sure.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff.
I know. Do you use any of it today?
I use it quite a bit.
Do you use ChatGPT?
I use Grok.
You use Grok?
Yeah.
I like Grok too. Yeah. That's pretty good. I just use ChatGPT is a little more user friendly now. And obviously I pay for the pro version, but I just love talking into it. So like I'll go back and forth for a while, or even if I'm writing out a long email, I'd rather talk into it and then it spits me back out the email because it's better than I could ever type it. And it's way faster because I'm a pretty slow typer, Hunter and Pecker. But even if I was fast, like being able to say it into ChatGPT and then it spits out a much more professional and clean version has been a big saver for me this last year.
Dude, just like lean into that stuff. It's a resource. Why not?
Yeah.
It's so helpful. I mean, if I have any questions, I go there first.
100%.
Right? I don't assume that it's 100% right, but that's the great place to start.
For sure.
It's just going to get better.
I know. It's going to be crazy. I was talking to a guy in Dubuque that owns quite a bit of like Starbucks and Dollar Generals and that kind of stuff. And he tries to put his leases in there and read them, and he says they get it right about 75% of the time. So that's like the scary part. You can't completely trust it, but it's pretty young, and wait another 5 years, how good it will be, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's making me dumb or not, but I lean on it quite a bit. You know, I still have attorneys and things that I will double check, but even like trying to understand what an attorney is saying to me in an email, you know, like I just throw it into Grok and it will give me, you know, all the links and things to the statutes, and like I can really understand quickly and learn quickly what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, which is just awesome. Anyways, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think definitely people using AI, it's not like AI is going to take over, but it's going to give people a big advantage. You know, it's like using a cell phone compared to not, you know, or like someone was telling me the other day how scary it is, but imagine like the first time someone saw an automobile like 100 years ago, like that would have scared the shit out of me. Like no more riding horseback around. We're getting in our car. So I think it's definitely going to be the way of the future, but
if you're not on ChatGPT or Grok right now, definitely go utilize that resource.
Yeah, 100%. His affiliate link will be below for that too.
Me and Elon, man.
That's funny. So what keeps you chugging these days? What motivates you? What keeps Seth moving to do more?
Well, I just have a lot of fun with what I do. You know, I think, you know, I do, like I said earlier, I do quite a bit of work just on, you know, personal care and a lot of like recovery work in my life too. So I think my life has gotten much more manageable, and I really enjoy, you know, being present with my family and my kids and my relationships, and I get to practice a lot of things that you know, today with connection, you know, being community, that kind of stuff. And so work has gotten not that important, I guess. Like obviously I'm excited about what I do, but I think with what I'm doing, it's afforded me a lot of time to focus on the things that really are important in life. And I think there's been a sort of a priority shift for me, and I'm still kind of transitioning too. So, you know, I've spent so much time trying to make businesses work, trying to make ideas work, trying to this thing and that thing, and you know, marginal success, and a lot of failures. We didn't even talk about some of the business failures that I've had before any real estate stuff, partnerships that I've lost, and you know, like I said, I was in music at one point, so I got really burnt out, and you know, I think there's been some major changes in the last year that have been just made life really fun and,
awesome.
And great to be present. So yeah, I mean, that stuff keeps me going. Got a lot of great resources in those areas, and then, you know, as far as the work side of things, like it is fun to put these puzzles together.
Yeah,
I like the tactical, strategical stuff. You know, like if anyone out there has deals like this and you just want to talk about it, I love it. I just love it. You don't have to pay me. I'll talk about the deals. Because like, you know, I've got all these tools in this tool belt, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I get to pull one out and sort of like
see how it works,
bit, you know?
Yeah.
So that's fun, and I like to share what I know.
Yeah.
You know, like it's I don't want to keep it to myself. I do like to share it. So, you know, I'm happy to even mentor people as part of the coaching. You know, anyone that's doing stuff outside of Texas, Logan and his team will often send people that are interested in coaching to me and have a conversation. I like doing that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I like asking questions about what they're doing and just saying, hey, here's what it worked for me, and I'm happy.
You probably learn a lot too on your side by doing that. You know, all the different states, because like your marketing aspect, are you only specific in certain states? I heard St. Louis come up a couple times, or you just kind of take as they come.
Yeah, so we've kind of landed on Missouri and Georgia as kind of our main states. Tennessee would probably be number 3 in there, and it's just because we've really built out the resources in those areas, and I really understand the laws in those states and how it works. So yeah, St. Louis is great. Anywhere in Missouri would be great. You can do this strategy nationwide. It's just that some states are more difficult to do it. Even in Iowa, you can do this in Iowa. But Iowa, you'd have to do probate. So anyways, yeah, that's fun too. Like I had to figure this stuff out, which was fun. But now it's like, I don't need to figure it out anymore. Like, let's just
start doing
lock
it.
in.
Yeah, for sure. You talked a little bit about giving back. One question I always love asking is, if Seth had a blank check and 12 months off, what would be the first problem you'd go solve or give back to?
A blank check and 12 months off. I think because it has something to do with real estate, and in my recovery world too, there's just a lot of broken people out there. I think either homelessness or some kind of recovery, what do they call it, like sober living,
a sanctuary type of deal.
Yeah, or like sober living,
yeah,
something like that, and just sort of building out something in that vein, just to help people kind of get back on their feet, or kind of transition into a better way of life. That's probably and I get to practice some real estate stuff too. So it seems like it's kind of hard to from a city perspective, like to know what to do with a lot of that kind of stuff too. So yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah,
there's so many different angles. It's like, can't really give them to fish, because then they're never going to go fish for themselves. So you got to teach them how to use the pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of easy to say that when you're on the other side.
Yeah.
And you have the fish already and the pole.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of just, confidence is such a big thing, and like when you don't have a lot, it's hard to get the confidence to go try things and take risks. And, even if you had the money, if you don't have the confidence, like you're probably not gonna be successful in it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's been an hour already. I like to end everything with a little bit of lightning round, if you're up for that. Okay. 3 questions I ask everyone. What's your favorite book or podcast you're on these days and you'd recommend to people?
Man, I definitely like, from a business perspective, I like a book called Pumpkin Plan.
Never heard of that.
Definitely check it out.
Okay.
It's a little bit geeky, but it's pretty cool. Podcasts, I've unfortunately, I don't really listen to a lot of business podcasts.
Okay.
It's like Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan, a lot of those guys. I mean, people that talk about like national security and or AI. Like
Sean Ryan is like the military dude, right?
Yeah. And they're all sort of connected. I don't know. Whatever my YouTube is like.
Okay.
To me. I will say shout out to Logan Fulmer. He has a podcast called the Dirty Deeds Podcast, and he was my coach and curative title. Really, really good stuff on there. So definitely check that out. He's got lots of great episodes on Spotify.
Okay, sweet. And what was the pumpkin book?
Pumpkin Plan.
Pumpkin
it's
Plan.
On Amazon.
What's like the 30-second quick and dirty on that?
It's about building a business with a hyper focus, the way that you would grow those gigantic, massive pumpkins that you see.
Oh yeah.
But it's
like the ones at the state fair.
Yeah, you don't get those by accident. It starts with a really good seed, a seed that came from one of those gigantic pumpkins, and then the cultivating process of that, is really important. So in a business, there's all kinds of great ideas, but you have to focus on the most profitable, the best idea, and cut away everything else. And oftentimes that starts with what your customers want. And so building all of that around what your customers want, that's how you grow a big pumpkin.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I feel like once you get into business, it's like, and you start seeing all these different ideas coming at you. Like with my Airbnb, like, yeah, I could do snow plowing. Yeah, I could do mowing. Yeah, I could do a handyman service now. Like you get out all these other verticals on, but then you lose your main deal. you know.
Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, it's real. It is
Very real.
sure
My
is
whole
real.
story is about it.
Well, at least you're aware of it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people go through life and they're not even aware of a lot of, I think you're very aware of a lot of things in your life, and then as well as yourself.
Painful.
You know. Yeah. That's how we all get there, man. What's something, oh, this will be a good one for you. What's something people often get wrong about your industry?
Well, I'll throw it in with the wholesale space because
Okay.
it just seems sort of like, there's this slimy wholesaler out there that's just trying to take advantage of some poor old, homeowner, let's just say. Yeah, we're going to make decent money, but these are situations that we're working on where they cannot be solved by anybody else. In fact, the homeowner or the seller cannot solve this, or in situations don't even know that they have this problem. So, there's not a lot of understanding about this space.
Yeah, I know.
But I think I would say that, it's just like there's an assumption that we're just taking advantage. But yeah, we're solving a problem that literally no one else can solve.
For sure. What's one underrated skill that's helped you win?
I'm just gonna say curiosity. I think there's probably more, but that's what's coming to mind. Yeah, just being really, really curious about stuff. I don't know that people really talk about that all that often, but I think if you're curious and lean into it, I think you could learn whatever you want to learn and tackle whatever you want to tackle. I think being curious is really helpful in relationships too, because if I can be curious about what's going on with you, that's how we connect and build relationships. So I think that's a skill that I have, and it was something that kind of, as I became an adult, kind of got lost in translation. But as I look back as a kid, like curiosity is what got me outside playing and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So I think it continues to help me.
I think it's the curious is one thing, and then you're really good at like actually putting it into use. Like a lot of people, I think they're curious for 30 seconds, 30 minutes, a couple hours, and then they're just like done with it. Whereas you're curious, but then you kind of lean into it more, which is super cool too.
You ever just get stuck in an idea though? You ever just get stuck thinking about something over and over and over again when everything else is quiet? Like that's like an attitude of curiosity. It's a state of curiosity.
Like playing it out type of deal in your head.
Like that deal that you can't figure out how to close.
Yeah.
And you keep thinking about it until something pops up and you're like, I could try that.
Yep.
Right? Like that is what I'm talking about. It's like, you can get a lot done if you just stay curious.
Because there is a million different avenues in all these deals, like I think it just, really cool. Where can people find you, reach out to you, learn a little bit more about you after this podcast?
I'm not on any socials, so you can just find me through you. You can find me right here. You can look at my website, cleartitleiusa.com. I guess you can search me on Facebook, but I'm not active. I'm pretty old school.
Good profile picture though.
Good profile picture, yes. I'm the guy with the jacket standing in front of the mountains.
Yep, for sure. Well, thanks for everybody watching. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.